What's going on, everyone? My name is Yodael G. Welcome to my channel. For the first of many, today's episode, we're gonna do a beat breakdown. Something, me and my little brother cooked up, and it's called We Always Do. Now, normally when I come into the studio, I don't decide what kind of song I'm gonna make. I'm gonna let the music guide me and take me, and sure enough, I end up where I'm at. Nowhere. I'm kidding. But the song is a great track. I enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoy it. It speaks so much volumes to my work ethic, my character, and how I approach a problem, and how I intend on solving it. At the end of the day, the main point of it, the takeaway that I have for that record is, for all my problem solvers out there, for all those who are really invested in what they do, this song should be the instrument of their life whenever they are faced with adversity.
We have found a way. We always do.
So first things first, when we look into our timeline, it all starts with this sample right here. And the sample just pretty much loops. There isn't anything that adds to the texture, but that was the song starter. For me, that's all it took to catch a vibe, because it just felt so on brand, as Mr. Tibbs says. So that was all I needed to get started. Shortly after, I added some shakers right here. Yep. While the sample is loading up, I really wanted to go for a desperado kind of feel. I wanted to feel like an outlaw when I'm listening to it. I wanted to feel like somebody that is told of legendary stories. Somebody that shouldn't exist, but they do. Somebody that is so legendary at what they do, it feels like a folktale just to mention their name. That's where I was going with this, stylistically speaking, of course. But let's keep going. In between that, of course, there are little pockets of me playing the bass here and there. Yep. Sounds about right. More importantly, I started to add this snare drum. Yeah, snare drum with no kicks, no nothing, to kind of just build anticipation, to kind of keep the listener on their toes while they're listening to the beat go. And sure enough, the bass is still continuing. That's actually me playing the bass live. I had footage, but unfortunately when I moved down here, I think I lost it. Not that that's a problem. The difference with me is that if I need to grab the live instrument and do it, I'll do it. But I just love live instrumentation way more sometimes. So I try not to get too, pressed about it, but even if I'm sampling, I'm gonna go for a live feel. If I can make it feel as live as possible, that's what I would go for. I heard this drum loop that really spoke to me, which is really cool. It had the vibe that I was going for, but the issue is the kick is weak. I needed to punch you in the face. I needed to really smack dab, sit right in the middle of your ear, and I needed to almost be gut-wrenching as far as the low end. And then the snare was just weak on this, so I just decided to take some kicks from Decap. Shout out Decap, man. His packs are crazy. And layered it on top of the groove that's already set so that I could, keep that energy live. For me, it was just a lot to play around with. So I was just trying to see, what could I do with the music? How am I adding to it as opposed to trying to do too much and then there's no room for my vocals? But thankfully, that wasn't the case, But when you take a look at the groove that's already set before us, sexy. You know me, I love my music with multiple grooves to it. I love when my songs have this beat switch, but not a beat switch, when the drum changes, but not really, you do what I'm saying? So this is what it sounded like. And the hi-hat rolls. was super just chef's kiss. And then the of course, from a lyrical standpoint, the flow switches up at that point. And then we go back to that same groove that got your head, nodding with it, to really pull the listener back to where we started. And this was my favorite part right here, man. When I was going through samples, I found this really, 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 really fire guitar. Or I should say, my little brother found this really, really, really fire guitar. And I just said, buddy, we gotta use that. And sure enough, it was this. Really builds anticipation, like, oh, what's gonna happen next? Because I don't have to say that. I don't have to say that in the song, in the lyrics, to say, y'all not ready for what's about to come. And then when you under-deliver, right? Let the music do the talking. And that's what's really, you're telling a story. And the story in this part is like, oh, y'all not ready for what's about to come. Because at the end, I do a crazy little guitar solo. Okay, the guitar solo, sorry. My little brother does a crazy little guitar solo. Because when I'm having like a production session with me and bro, it's always like, ooh, what do you think will sound good on this? Or ooh, what do you think will sound good on that? And then we're just going from there. That was also another guitar sample that we decided to go for because it was very like reggae-ish, and I just wanted it to feel like more Caribbean. There was a couple other guitar samples that me and Lil Dimitri decided to go for, and one of them was this little guy right here, which is this. With so much reverb. So initially the sample sounds like that, like it was just slowed down. So that was cool, right? But I wanted it to sound on key. So made a couple cue points with me and Lil Bro, and basically this is what we came up with. That's one, another. So you're probably like, what is he doing? But that's after a couple tinkering, kind of pitched that little cue point 4 semitones down. So you thought that is really hideous because I pitched that one down. But together, my mind was going in this direction where we're actually going to cohesively snip, snip, and then stitch it back together. And then back to the first sample. So I took just that small little lick. That small lick goes a long way because I'm trying to keep the listener engaged. I'm trying to keep their ear on their toes. I'm trying to keep them invested. And there was 3 or 4 more other guitar samples that I was messing around with. This is one of my other favorites, which was super fire to do. Oh my goodness. It was this. So that's cool, right? And then had another cue point. That was the end. So all together, to have that playing with the groove, it'll have you jumping. And then I'll have that accent that I was speaking of, that guitar building anticipation. Now, lastly, you hear me throughout the song constantly saying, we'll find a way. We always do. And I thought that was so instrumental of how I wanted to lead the song and then bring it to its conclusion. So near the end, you'll actually be able to see, check this out real quick. It was this sucker right here that I used to lay down that crazy guitar lick. So by the end of that song, I was kind of coming into it, getting a feel for it, right? Trying to lead up to the resolution because I'm trying to go big or go home. I'm trying to top it all off. Pause. And then I don't know what came over me. I don't know what came over me that day. Some type of anointing. Boy, when I tell you, bro, I don't know what kind of melody came over me, But I started to mess around with this melody that just came naturally into my head, just going up and down the scale, the ladder, like, and I'm not even experienced like that. All the stuff I do music theory wise is like makeshift. It's like, let's just get from point A to point B. I'm not trying to be flashy. This was like a happy medium of those two. So then it was like, oh my gosh. And as soon as I heard that lick, it was like game over. But it was game over a couple times because I couldn't play it fast for the life of me. I'm talking, it was just too fast. I don't have the finger mobility for it. So there's a whole long, like, horrible outtake of it. I even tried to slow the beat down to try to play it within that time. But after just a couple of, like, takes and then listening to those horrible takes, saying, nah, I can do that better, I can do that better, I can do that better, I finally came up with this. Ironically enough, I was still trying to find the beginning because the beginning sounded cool, but I wanted it to feel cinematic and grand. And so I had this audio, this voice memo of a really good friend of mine, brother, if you will. So I found this really cinematic, these violins that sound like PlayStation 3 starting up. And then I had this melody idea with the guitar. But that melody idea with the guitar came after I laid down the ending, and I was like, there's more. I want to just play my heart out. I couldn't, just so many ideas kept coming into my head. There was a melody idea that I had where I was humming that.
We have found a way.
And I took that from my Snapchat because I was driving when the melody hit me. And then I added that to the beginning of the song, and I tried singing it, but it was just like doing too much with somebody else talking. So I said, screw it, we'll play it on the guitar. And sure enough, we did. And I mean, as best as I could put it, we found a way, and we always do.